and welcome to the show. Look, we're back at the top of Mount Chiliad on GTA 5 for a downhill chaos with some of the new vehicles in the latest update. We start with the Dubsta 6x6, basically the G-Wagon Mercedes Crazy Mobile. This I thought would be a pretty good vehicle for this particular course. It is very much an off-road styled vehicle, also pretty powerful, so therefore pretty fast. There are some downsides to this vehicle. As you can see, as we go tumbling and doing many a roll, it is rather large. This is a this is a pretty huge vehicle. Pretty sure this is bigger than probably around the same sort of size as the Sandking, perhaps. I'm not sure. It might be even a little bit longer. Yeah, it's a pretty damn big vehicle. It tumbles well as it slides down the mountain. I'm trying my best to stop the truck. Eventually, come on, please stop, please stop. No, we can't seem to get stopped. Just the second it looks like we are, there goes the bonnet. Off goes the bonnet. Yeah, this is a pretty tough vehicle to get stopped, and it is pretty damn large. I should say, upgrades-wise, it's just visual stuff that I've done on here. Nothing else done to it. Getting it turned, getting it stopped for some of these corners was proving problematic. Again, just a tiny bit out of shape. And in such a big vehicle as this, still some spectacular rolls going on, but I couldn't stop it in time. And then that's a new place. After however many episodes I've done of this, I've never had a car end up that far out of shape over there. I've never quite achieved that far of a roll. Yeah, this was a big vehicle, a little bit unmanoeuvrable at times, and then I completely forgot where I was going momentarily. Whoopsie. Yeah, I was trying to cut the corner a little bit too much, and I haven't driven down this Chiliad course for quite some time. Forgot where I was, and it lands on its wheels after doing some tumbling, but yeah, bit of a tricky one to drive this one in some respects. Of course, it is a very capable off-road vehicles. The bumps were absolutely no problem for this. It really wasn't. I reckon this could well be one of the best all-round vehicles in GTA 5. I really do. There is a lot of speed in this thing, and it is very, very capable off-road. The problem is, the downhill chaos course is very narrow and very tight and very twisty. And while over sort of other stages, I think this would be very, very fast, it struggles here. The brakes just not quite good enough on this. It's just a little bit of a pain to stop. I'm presuming this is quite a heavy vehicle, and the brakes don't quite get it stopped fast enough. It is also a huge, great big truck. It's just, yeah, struggles with the turning through some of these corners. Add on the brake issues, make this a bit of a fight to drive down this course. I'm having to be quite cautious, as yeah, I was having a problem with just overshooting most of these corners. I couldn't get the truck stopped in time. Having said that, I do like driving this, and it only took a couple of attempts to get a clean run. I think this is a really very, very good vehicle. On GTA 5, it was a little bit out of shape over there. It deals with the landings perfectly, which is nice. Even some of the SUVs have bounced around more than this thing does. Very, very good off-road vehicle. But it does struggle a bit on this particular route. Again, that's one of the hardest jumps to land. So many cars have problems on that landing. And this was absolutely fine with it. Again, the length though down this bit here was a bit of a fight. You should keep it on the track and not make any silly mistakes. And around the second to last corner, again, that bump there is throwing so many cars sideways. Absolutely no problem in the Dubsta. And the Dubsta gets across the line, makes the jump, and gets stopped. Yeah, I really like this car. Honestly, got to be one of the best all-round vehicles on GTA 5. Very, very good vehicle. Just not quite suited to the downhill chaos course. Just a little bit too big and not quite good enough brakes. Otherwise, yeah, a very, very cool vehicle. Up next, we have I have no idea how to pronounce it. Pigalle? I'm going to call it a Pigalle. Okay, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I don't know if that's how it is pronounced. That reminds me of a Citroen. Basically, I'm not entirely sure quite what it is based. I had a brief look on the internet. I think they said it was a Maserati Merak, the one on Top Gear that exploded, and some sort of Citroen. I see this and it just reminds me of Citroen. Again, I've put a few visual upgrades on it, but again, it is only visual. No performance adjustments to any of these vehicles. I quite like this car. Again, this is another one that I really do quite like. And on the drive over to Mount Chiliad, I really enjoyed driving this vehicle. I may have got a little bit carried away on the brakes, and that's not stopped. It's not stopped at all as we go sailing off and spinning around. And this is also a front-wheel drive car. Wasn't expecting that. There are very, very few front-wheel drive vehicles. As you can see, the dust being kicked up from the front wheels there. There are very few front-wheel drive cars on GTA 5, but this is a really nice vehicle to drive. Just kind of in general, on tarmacs and even off-road here. Nice car. Again, I was just pushing it a little bit too much. Got it a bit too sideways over that jump. Again, that's a fairly common thing to happen on the downhill chaos. That corner is a bit notorious. Coming into the final section on this particular run, it was already on 2 wheels before approaching that corner. Again, we're on 2 wheels, and yeah, that's not stopping in time. And then we go twisting and wibbling and wobbling and off down the mountain. Still can't quite get it stopped in time. Again, doesn't quite have as good brakes as perhaps I would like, but we do eventually come to a standstill. Yeah, it's quite a nice car to drive. Also trying to figure out what engine it has in it. It's, for some reason, whenever I look at that, I'm thinking that kind of looks a bit like a V8. But it can't be. In fact, the engine's mounted the wrong way if this was to be a front-wheel drive car. So there's a little bit of discrepancy on the engine there. It should be mounted the different way around if it's powering the front wheels than the way it was. Again, outbrake myself a tiny bit. Another car that likes to do the sort of the break dance, he spins around on its roof when you fall off the track. It didn't take too long with this vehicle either to get this down the bottom of the course, despite this being a road car, much lower suspension than the Dubsta. This was pretty good dealing with the bumps. Not as good as the huge truck, that's not really surprising, but it dealt with the bumps very, very well, and it's pretty rapid. It's a pretty fast car. It caught me out a few times again on this run. I was slightly outbrake myself. Just got caught out by how fast this thing accelerates. It is a pretty damn quick car. I will give it that. And again, a nice car to drive. No real handling flaws with it. It may well be front wheel drive, but it certainly there's no downsides to it being front wheel drive. You can throw the car around. Yeah, it's just a generally nice car to drive. Of course, not as capable off road as the 6x6 when it gets really challenging. But for this course, it's more than a match. For these bumps. Occasionally it would lift up on 2 wheels, just something to be aware of when you're really pushing it. Around here you see it a couple of times, but it wasn't a major problem, not like it was with the Voltic. Again, on 2 wheels over there, I got a little bit out of shape, managed to get it stopped, then it's all out of shape for this next section. Managed to gather it up before the second to last corner. Again, bumpy around here. I managed to avoid the bumps by sticking to the outside, and it's around the final corner for the Pigalle, and it is finished. Nice car, this one. I do like this car. I like the look of this car as well. Yeah, probably my favourite of the cars. My favourite behind the 6x6. This one, yeah, it's a lovely car. It really is quite a nice car to drive overall. Third and final vehicle is the Panto. Yes, this is effectively a smart car. There is sticker bomb option, so I sticker bombed most of the car. Yeah, this is a crazy, silly thing with a stupid wing, silly exhausts. Why not? Again, upgrades are purely visual on this one. Now, I was expecting this to be a nightmare to drive. The first two are really quite nice to drive, fairly easy to drive down here. I was expecting this to be twitchy as anything, hate the bumps, and be really difficult to drive. That was the expectation, because it is such a tiny wheel-based car. You can see on this opening one, I was really fighting for control, just trying to keep it in line. Got it a little bit on 2 wheels and then couldn't stop it for the next corner. I stopped before I went soaring off the cliff, but it was stuck. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't reverse it out of there because of a small bump. I mean, it's a pretty steep hill, don't get me wrong, that it is stuck on. The camera angle is a little bit deceptive on this sometimes, but it was a tiny little bump that was too much for the Panto. Again, coming into the first corner, this is the problem with this car, is it gets thrown around, it is very light, and that short wheelbase is not good. Is not good at all for this kind of thing. That one, I just couldn't gather it up again after the first corner and bounced off some rocks. Yeah, you hit something in this car and you are going to lose. It's as simple as that, really. On here, again, This first section, a little bit narrow, was the biggest area of concern for this vehicle. Now, I've hit the fence there a number of times in runs with various cars. Never before have I hit the fence and it's throwing my car so violently off the track, as is the lightweightness, sure, of this car. Yeah, the real downsides to this are it's just sort of too small and too light, and really gets thrown around. Do a 360 as we go along, do a bit of a wheelie over some rocks. It's fine. I gathered it up. Thought, well, I might as well carry on, use this as a bit of a practice run, see how we do. Outbrake myself, and we're going around for another 360. Oh, and there's another one as I dump a wheel off the designated course. Okay, back on the track. Now for the next corner, and we're a little bit on two wheels there. Didn't see that before. The Panto was great at that hairpin. It was really easy to chuck this car into the hairpin because it is so tiny. I then got out of shape through here and up on its side. Nope, we've gathered it up. We've gathered it up through that bit. I can deal with the landing, and then I just get a little bit too eager on the cornering, and the car goes round in a circle. Next run, I was doing a bit better. Got a bit further on. Down the course, then on the landing of the jump, it just threw the car about. It also has like a mega speed boost. It happens very, very quickly, but once it's sort of wheeling on that back spoiler, or not the back spoiler, the back bumper, or on the exhaust, whatever it is, that picks up so much speed going down there. If I could do that reliably, you would have a missile with this. I don't know how I could do it reliably, but if you could, you would have a missile little car. Again, it didn't take as long as I had thought. It really didn't take as long as I had thought with this car. I thought it would be a nightmare to drive down here because of the short wheelbase, the instability. Sure, the ease at which this car spins round in a circle. Somewhere in there, that makes sense. I thought it would be a pain. It wasn't too bad. You just had to drive it a bit cautiously. And there was one thing you had to be very aware of, is that you can't really chuck this car around in the corners with the handbrake. You can kind of a little bit, like you see there, and this hairpin you definitely can, but most of the other corners you can't really get away with it, and if you do try it, it's very easy for it to go wrong. Most of the cars around here, I'm chucking them in using the handbrake to try and get the vehicles turned. A little bit of a wall ride that I get away with on this ride. I thought I was gone when that happened, but I managed to land it. You've got to be careful with chucking this car around too much, because yeah, with such a short wheelbase, very, very easy to have it spin around. And the landing of the jumps you've got to be careful on. It just gets bounced. I was a little bit sideways coming over that crest, managed to sort the vehicle out. The plus side of the tiny size is that you do have quite good in-air control of the vehicle. You can move it around a lot, and of course it is very, very manoeuvrable in general. You don't have the problem as you do with a 6x6 of it being too big to fit on the course. You have it too small. But anyway, it got to the bottom of the route. Yeah, pretty well. Again, another car that's quite fun to drive, this one. It's not the fastest vehicle for sure in GTA 5. It is quite fun to mess around with this car. It's probably better driving this on tarmac than it is on dirt. On dirt, of course, a little bit more slidey, and add that to the short wheelbase, makes it a little bit more unstable. But yeah, I was amazed actually how well all of these vehicles made it to the bottom course, especially the Panto. I thought this one would really struggle, but it didn't. It got to the bottom only after a few attempts. So it is on to the descent times, and it's a very good time from the Pigalle. A 125.32 puts it just fractionally behind an Adder. It's gone fractionally behind a Veyron. Beats out the Alpha, the Coquette, the Z-Type, the Comet. That's a really good time from that car. A very nice car to drive as well. Highly recommend that one. We move on to the Panto, that is a little bit further down with a 131.87, and I am sad to report that that beats a Dominator. It is a sad day when a smart car beats a Ford Mustang. It's not that far off the Police Interceptor. There are a lot of cars around that 31 mark. In the mid table, and further down still we have the Dubsta 6x6. While I still maintain that is probably one of the best all-round vehicles in GTA 5, it is almost too big for that particular route, and the brakes, it did struggle on that track. So not the best time on the downhill chaos route, but I really do quite like the Dubsta. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.